Good evening. Welcome along to the start of a very busy little spell of broadcasting for us on BT Sport in Scotland. In the next 3 days, we've got two Premiership games for you, sandwiched neatly in between a playoff semi-final between Falkirk and Hibs. That's tomorrow night, and we're really looking forward to that. But we kick things off here in the Granite City. It's second against third. It's Aberdeen against Hearts. The Dons have a chance to lay down a marker here ahead of next season. They've closed the door on the runners-up spot this time round, but there's a bit of a rivalry growing between these sides. All of the meetings this campaign have been pretty close. Robbie Nielsen's team have in fact won the last two against Aberdeen. They'll want to extend that streak at Pittodrie and finish the campaign strongly. The last time these two came head-to-head at Tynecastle just a month ago, Aberdeen's title challenge was destroyed once and for all by the men in maroon.
Let's get ready for the full-blown Corgi experience. Simon Church not hanging around. It's a dream start for Aberdeen. And it's gone another the equaliser just like that. Too hot to handle. Reynolds across it comes on. Swimmer. Aberdeen defenders vacated their positions. Aberdeen's title push is drowning in an ocean of maroon.
That was a painful night for all in red. Derek McInnes said the title challenge ended right there. And since then, there's been an eye in the future. And it got us all thinking, would he experiment tonight? Would Robbie Nielsen as well? Well, I know a man that's got all of the team news. Derek Ray with the details as usual.
Evening, Darryl. And even though Aberdeen and Hearts have already locked up second and third place respectively in the Premiership, it's hard to imagine a meeting of these two without an edge to it. Certainly the four previous encounters in the current campaign have been action-packed. Aberdeen make one change from Saturday's 3-2 defeat at Celtic Park. You might recall Simon Church left that match just before half-time through injury, with defender Mark Reynolds coming on. Well, Church hasn't made it, but it's not Reynolds who replaces him. Instead, there's a maiden start for 19-year-old Scott McKenna. He did appear as a substitute against St Johnstone in February. Hearts have made three alterations to the team held to a 1-1 draw by Ross County, all in midfield and attack. Arno Djoum and Dario Zanata, substitutes at the weekend, both start this time. Don Cowie and Sam Nicholson drop out. Meanwhile, Juanma, who scored twice against Aberdeen, the highlights you saw just then, last month at Tynecastle, preferred to Gavin Riley. Now, I should add, very big developments on the stadium front here in Aberdeen. Proposed move to West Hill. It's about 8 miles to the west of Pittodrie. And the plan is for Aberdeen to take up residence there in 2019, with the training centre opening a year before that. I've spent most of the day here in Aberdeen, Darryl, and I must say the local response has been very positive.
Good man, Derek. Thank you very much indeed. As you can see around the desk, we are well stocked tonight. Paul Hartley, the Dundee manager here, ex-Aberdeen and Hearts player. We've got an ex-Jambos captain in Michael Stewart, Stephen Craigan, Chris Sutton as well. Let's come to that news of the day then. Everyone around here is talking about the proposed new stadium. They've been promised it before, but Paul, if they could get it and the training ground, it would make a big difference, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time in coming. I think it will increase their fan base, but I think the key thing for me is the training base. I think as a player, to attract better players in, if they've got a first-class training facility, I think that's the important thing. Michael,
we're seeing two teams tonight who are on the way up then, because of course Hearts want to build a new main stand as well. They'll be much better off for it, both clubs, if it all happens this.
Yeah, they certainly will, and you know, and Hearts as well will be getting the use of the National Performance Centre of Sport down at Heriot-Watt University, so they've got a lot to look forward from that perspective. But the big one for Hearts is the main stand. So you're right, the two clubs, a lot to look forward to.
OK, I'll talk to both of the other guys shortly, but we can actually hear from the Aberdeen chairman right now, Stuart Milne, on the new stadium. Here he is with Ailey Barber.
Well, Stuart, some very exciting plans in place for a new stadium and training centre. Tell me a bit about them, why the area was chosen and how far on those plans are.
We're very much at the early stages with the plans. I think what you've seen in the papers today is basically where we are. The reason we've chosen that particular location, I think it's a great location for the fans, great transport links. It'll have more or less direct access onto the new western bypass for the city, and the fact that we're able to deliver the soccer and academy and the stadium in the same site, we think will bring huge benefits to the club.
How will you finance it, and will it have an impact on the playing budget here at the club?
It won't have any impact on the playing budget, and we would hope that down the line BT will play their part in helping finance it through putting more money into Scottish football. But no, the reality is it is going to be a challenge to come up with the funding for it. We're fortunate in a way that Pittodrie's in a good location. We have a big site here. We've got planning consent to redevelop this for residential. So hopefully that will deliver in the region of 50% of the funding. The other 50% will have to raise through various means.
In terms of playing budgets in the shorter term future, Derek McInnes has asked for backing to put up an even bigger title challenge next season. Are you able to meet what he wants?
Yeah, we'll work hard with Derek over the summer months. No, I think we've put in a good challenge this year. Bit of disappointment around the club, but we feel that we could have got even closer, and we did. And I hope the last 2 games of the season will even close that gap a bit further. But we firmly believe that we've got the bones of a team here with some additions during the summer months that we can mount a serious challenge next year again.
We wish you all the best, Stuart. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you indeed. Chris, on the new stadium and the training ground, it does feel like it's important to get this done for the sake of maybe Derek McInnes and keeping him happy here long term at the club. He's called for it a few times, and an increased budget, of course.
Ahead of investing in players? I don't get that. The training ground doesn't matter to me, Darryl, at all. You know, I'd rather see investment in the team. Aberdeen have missed a trick this year. I don't care what anybody says. Had they invested in January, maybe getting a Tansey here, 2 centre-halves and a goalkeeper, do you know what? They could have actually won the league
That's
this
a lot
season.
Of investment, though. You can't expect them to have gone in. I think they actually did go out.
So Tansey, had they what was it? Was
Well,
it in clause another 25,000 for Tansey? It could have been the difference between winning a league and not. They've underachieved this year for me. They should have pushed
a goalkeeper and Tansey.
Well, look,
that's a lot.
Well, why not start with one? But they should have got another goalkeeper
I would
in
agree
as well.
with you.
And, you know, they had a chance. They've missed a trick this year. So we can talk about long-term plans at the end of the season, what they're going to do next season. They've missed a trick this season.
He does say it won't affect the playing budget in the future, though. That's an important point.
I wasn't convinced with what he said.
OK, interesting. Well, we'll come back to that. We'll talk about the future shortly. It's not like you not to be convinced. Let's come to this match tonight. I know, obviously, it doesn't mean anything in terms of the league placings now, Stephen, but Hearts have won this the last couple of times. We saw at the start of the show there, the meeting at Tynecastle last time out ended Aberdeen's title challenge. Aberdeen don't want to go into next season having lost 3 in a row to Hearts, surely?
No, they won't, and I think it'll lay a little marker down tonight, you know, particularly for Hearts. If they want to challenge for the title, if they want to challenge for the top 2 or top 3, Aberdeen are going to be the club they have to overcome. I think they're the benchmark for them coming up. You know, Aberdeen have had a good season. Chris thinks they've underachieved. I think they've been consistent again. Hearts have done well. You know, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, where were they? Now look where they are. But if they want to kick on again, it's exactly what Chris is saying with Aberdeen. Hearts have to invest. Aberdeen have to invest. Celtic will invest. Rangers coming up will invest. So these 2 tonight can lay a little marker down for next season.
And they've not really been experimental. Only a couple of youngsters really for each team. We will discuss them as we go on. But we should look back at yesterday's action and Tuesday's games as well. One game on Tuesday, but we can start with the champion Celtic. Well done to them. They got the League One. Aberdeen just couldn't catch them in the end. But they have stumbled over the line a little bit. Chris, Lee Griffiths, first of all, that was the good news last night. 40 was up for him. His last chance to get that. He suspended in the final day. Then it all went wrong.
Yeah, well, thank God for Lee Griffiths and Tierney this season at Celtic. They've been the 2 outstanding players. This pretty much sums Celtic up, you know, the 2 goals they conceded. Ronnie died. I mean, these are great pictures, Lee Griffiths with his son there. Or I hope it's his son. But, you know, Ronnie Diley, you know, he should have gone earlier, and, you know, Celtic should have made the change for me. I mean, this sums up Johansson's season at a heavy touch. But
took a bobble.
Do you know, what's it, less than, yes, a bobble, a big bobble, but what's it, less than 70 days of the Champions League qualifier, and Celtic, I mean, where are they going? Are they going to improve? They need a new manager, and the club is in total disarray. Efe Ambrose, hopefully he hasn't got long on his contract left there. I mean, how he's playing in a Celtic...
1 more year to go.
Well, I mean, surely he cannot play in a Celtic jersey again. Come on.
How many times you said that, though? Yeah. Unfortunately for Celtic, you know, I think...
Well, I've said it a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have said it.
We should say St Johnstone have had a great post-split.
Won
every game so far.
I think that just you know, just reaffirms what a fantastic job's been done at St Johnstone over a number of years now.
They have got 4th now. I know Motherwell wanted 4th. They can't get it. Good win for them against Ross County last night. Well, important win.
Ross County's been a bit of a bogey side over the last couple of seasons. You know, they haven't won many games. Motherwell's had a couple of tough trips north. But when you go and play against a side like Ross County, who are physically strong and demanding and ask questions off you, you have to start strong, you have to start quick. I know the side only travelled yesterday, so sometimes sitting the bus for a long journey can affect you. And obviously didn't. You know, Stephen Pearson probably should get more goals.
Keith Lasley must have been standing on the bus.
This is his first goal, I think, in 84 games. He said
looks
after the game he didn't know how to celebrate, he didn't know what to do. But, you know, Keith's been excellent all season long. You know, he's been a catalyst for a lot of good things.
Can they get them all re-signed? Some of the pros that need to try and get back on their budget.
Well, that's the problem. I think Mark spoke about budgets and about budget cuts. You know, these players, I don't know what they've been offered, but certainly, you know, their service to Motherwell can't be questioned. Whether they stay beyond that is something else. But, you know, just looking at Stephen Pearson here coming in from the left-hand side, it's something Stephen probably should do more of with his energy and his pace. He should get more goals, but 5th place, considering where they were 8-9 weeks ago, Dial, is an excellent return.
And the top 6, I can tell you, is set going into the final weekend then. Celtic champions, Aberdeen in 2nd, Hearts 3rd. We see them playing tonight. As I said, the Saints in 4th, and Ross County as well in 6th. They've had a great season winning the Cup as well. To the bottom half then, your team last night, how did you not beat Kilmarnock on the balance of play? You had a number of chances, Paul.
We just didn't finish them off. I mean, the first half we were absolutely outstanding. With 2 1-on-1s also with Kane and Rory Loy, and you get at half-time 1-0, and the game should have been finished, but you always, you know, give Kilmarnock a chance, and, you know, it's poor defending from us, you know, but we're not picking anybody up in the box. But overall, in terms of the first half, terrific.
And Kilmarnock, of course, are heading to the playoffs, so any kind of result is probably good for them now, and they didn't make that many changes. I know you still got a little bit of a battle on to finish top of the bottom half, because Inverness won last night at Hamilton. You play them at the weekend, though, and all these games are still important, aren't they, in terms of budgets?
It's important financially. In terms of 7th and 8th, I think is a difference of about 60 grand. So, you know, we got there, we know what we need to do. We need to go up there and try and get a result, which is difficult. Hopefully we can get 3 points.
I think this is maybe the quickest double yellow card, 2 yellow cards I've ever seen in my life. Darian McKinnon was booked for his challenge, the scuffle, and then a second for obviously a bit of dissent. Stephen, not what he needs.
We have to say he is an aggressive guy. That's how he plays his game. He gets about, he upsets people, he mixes the game up. I think he just went a little bit too far last night.
He certainly did. We can also see Tuesday's game between Dundee United and Partick Thistle. It was 3-3 in the end. Dundee United fought back. Look, they've had an absolutely awful little spell, the relegation. Then they went and beat Inverness, and they were deducted those points. Fielding an ineligible player, had another one on the bench as well. You couldn't really see anything else getting worse for them. But some good news, some light perhaps. Ray McKinnon confirmed as the manager on a 3-year deal. Do you like that, Michael?
Yeah, I think he looks like the perfect sort of fit for Dundee United, especially when you look at the job that he's done at Raith Rovers. It's, you know, it's a much bigger club, Dundee United. But
knows the championship, of course.
Yeah, but, you know, I think everybody knows the budgets are going to be very, very tight at Dundee United. So I think they'll be expecting Ray McKinnon to do a similar job as what he's done at Raith Rovers. But it does look like a good appointment. And
Dundee United did play a few of the youngsters in this one. Stephen, I'd asked you up in Inverness, should he have played them? Matty Smith started, did well apparently. Justin Johnson comes off the bench to get the equaliser. Well, some hope for the future?
Well, that's going to be the key, is getting 5 or 6 experienced players coupled with the freshness of Justin Johnson. Harry should have played last night as well, so getting these players in this side going to be crucial moving forward.
We'll see them on Saturday, of course. We'll talk more about Ray McKinnon then. This is the bottom 6 table. Only position still up for grabs, as I said, is 7th. That's between Inverness and Dundee. Dundee United are very much relegated at the bottom, well behind. OK, still to come, we'll hear from the Hearts camp. It's been a very good first season back in the top flight for them. They bowled a few over, racked up some impressive scores. Now it's about finishing with momentum. More of the Jambos and the Bulls, apparently, coming up next. Focus tonight, though, is on the top flights. We're in the Granite City to see the Dons take on the team right behind them in the table. Hearts are here just a month after effectively finishing off Aberdeen's title challenge at Tynecastle. It was a pre-split stinger for all in red. Another example, though, of how well things are going on Gorgie. One man who wants to be a big part of the future is young Gavin Riley. He's made the step up from the Championship this season. It's not just football that's close to his heart, though, as Ailey Barber discovered this week when she met up with him, and Scottish bowls legend Alex Tatty Marshall, a big Hearts fan.
So here we are, the Alex Marshall bowling arena with the man himself and Gavin, sharpshooter himself, and birthday boy.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. What better way to mark your birthday than to come up against a legend on the bowling green?
I'm a wee bit nervous, but it's all good fun.
Pressure's on you, Alex. I mean, you can't have this boy beaten, you can.
Yeah, definitely. I've never felt this nervous for quite a long time.
Let's get going then. Show us what you've got. How did you two meet?
We met up about 6 weeks ago and we had a wee chat and we had a wee game. Never actually realised Gavin played bowls, but was actually quite impressed by the way he performs. I think Gavin could go quite far in bowls because he's, I think he's quite dedicated to it. Obviously after his football, but yeah, I think he's got a good future both in football and bowling.
I've just always played it since I was young. Went to primary school and used to go every second week and play, and just from there my granddad played and my dad now plays, so I've just always enjoyed it. It is relaxing. I mean, going from the high intensity football and then just chilling out and playing, but it's competitive at the end of the day as well, and that's what I like about it.
I've been a Hearts fan all my life, a die-hard Hearts man. I've been fanatic, and I was fortunate when I was young to be the ball boy at Tynecastle for many years. I went to every single away game, every single home game until when I took up bowls full time. But I've loved every single minute of watching Hearts progress through the years.
What's it been like to be part of the club this season?
It was great to come to a club this size, and fans have been great and the season's been great so far. I said top 6 at the start of the season, but I knew from the start this team was better than that. Europe was on the back burner a wee bit to begin with. We wanted to go for the league in second place, but that's a good prize to have for third place anyway. To
finish in the top 3, I think if Robbie Nielsen was to take that at the start of the season, he would have grabbed that with both hands, but they had great opportunities as well to finish higher. I think they could have caught Aberdeen.
Robbie brought me in, he did tell me I wasn't going to play every game. I'm new to the Premiership, but I think I've done well the times I've come in, and I've performed. I think it's more mentally frustrating going from the fact that I played every game basically last year to now coming in and having to fight more for my place, but I knew what I was up against when I came here, and I'm relishing the opportunity.
How did you enjoy playing with Alex?
Yeah, it's great. You don't get to play with a world champion every day, so I really enjoyed it.
And now you go back onto the field on Thursday night. Will you be watching, Alex?
Yes, I'll definitely be watching, and I'm going to predict a 2-1 for Hearts.
I'll agree with that as well.
Oh, beautiful.
Get that one on the telly.
And he looks pretty decent at the bowls, doesn't he? Maybe a future, and that was his 23rd birthday this week. But he's not playing tonight, he's on the bench. He started against Ross County, but he was hauled off at half-time. And does it just suggest if you do get a chance at this club, you need to really take it, Paul, and take it full on?
I think especially at Hearts, when you're a centre forward, you've got to hit the ground running. It's taken him a little bit of time to settle into the team. Played week in, week out at Queen of the South, and it's not quite happened for him yet at Hearts.
I'm sure a few teams would have been looking at him, Paul, is that right, in the top
Yeah, there was a few teams looked at him, we were one of them. I think Hearts paid about 50 grand for him, so... But he's still a young lad, he's still got time in his hands, so he's still time to develop.
I think it's a position though that's up for grabs at Hearts. It's somewhere they need to strengthen up the top of the park.
They've not replaced Osman Sow, have they?
No, they've not, and Paul's right, he's been a bit hit and miss. I personally just think he's a little bit short to go and stamp his position as his at Hearts. I just think very similar to Jason Keatings, who was there last year, and I think you've just gone like for like, but you've spent 50 grand.
Robbie Nielsen has said, though, that they need to add at least 3 or 4 players. If they are going to push on, they're talking about challenging for titles. They're going to need some help from Wanma up top, at least someone to back him up. How would you assess his first season overall, Stephen?
Well, I think if you speak to a lot of Hearts fans, a lot of them will tell you it's been frustrating. At times he's looked strong, he's looked powerful. Other times, his body language would indicate he's not too bothered whether he plays or whether he doesn't. He's not too bothered whether he scores or whether he doesn't. And I think the one thing Hearts demand, particularly at Tynecastle, is commitment all the time, is high intensity, is a strong centre forward. 13 goals probably isn't enough. And if Robbie wants to push his side into the top 3 or 4, he's going to need someone who can get 20, 25 goals.
Yeah, look, I think he's hot and cold. I think he's too inconsistent. On his day, he's been unplayable this season, but I think he can offer more. Maybe not necessarily in terms of goals, but in terms of a focal point and bringing other players into the game. I think at times he's lazy and he switches off, but when he's at it, we saw what he did to Aberdeen back at Tynecastle last game. Absolutely outstanding and unplayable.
You once said he was the signing of the summer,
well,
the way he started
early.
This season. It was early. Just shows you to make your judgment say.
He was in the early days.
It was early days.
Are you agreeing with me?
If you've seen the Scotland squad today, you'll also know that Callum Patterson's been called up. There's no Aberdeen or Celtic players involved because they're going to start the European campaigns early, as are Hearts as well, but apparently Robbie Nielsen was keen for Callum Patterson to be involved. He'll be delighted, Michael, but on the flip side, only gets 10 days break.
Yeah, I think that, from a personal perspective, he will be delighted that he's into the squad. 10 days, holiday, yes, it's disappointing, but at a young age like that, he's going to be more, excited by the opportunity to get into the Scotland squad. And I think from Hearts' perspective, getting in the Scotland squad is going to add a few more pounds to the asking price, because if they were to sell him, and I think they might well be looking to do that, then they've got a ready-made replacement for me and Liam Smith, a young lad who's impressed me.
He's just been out for 6 weeks with an injury as well, so the fact he's had a bit of recovery time might just soften the blow over the summer.
You just wonder though about Kenny McLean. He was only in the press yesterday saying he'd love to be in the Scotland squad, and obviously he wasn't even considered because of his club situation. Right, we can hear from a man who would also love to be involved tonight, but Adam Rooney, injury has flared up again at Motherwell just after he got his 20th goal of the season. But we can hear from him with Ailey Barber.
Thanks, Darragh. Well, Adam, I'm sure you would love to be playing tonight. How is the injury, and do you have any concerns given the short turnaround over the summer for next season?
No, not really for next season. It's just obviously came back last week, got on feeling good, and then I just felt a bit of a recurrence of it, so it's more precaution than anything. Similar to what it was and kind of the same stage, but hopefully now a couple of weeks rest and I should be good to go.
Some extra competition as well announced this week with the signing of Jayden Stockley. Is that something that you look forward to, having that extra competition for the striker's place?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure the gaffer looked to strengthen all areas of the squad over the summer. I'd say the next couple of weeks, hopefully with a few new arrivals. Obviously, at any club, players come in, players go. So we look for the competition. We're going to need it for next year again. If we want to push on, we're going to need that competition for places, and hopefully you can bring in a couple more.
You talk about pushing on. Some of your teammates have said that they don't see too much competition in terms of a challenge for second place next season or even higher. Do you agree with that? Is that the sort of feeling in the dressing room?
No, I don't think that's the case. I definitely think there's been competition this year for basically the whole season. We've had Hearts pushing us, and we were pushing Celtic, and earlier on the league Hearts were pushing Celtic as well. Obviously with Rangers coming up, and then whoever comes up from below, if they can get past Kilmarnock, then it's going to make for an interesting season next year. But we just have to focus on ourselves. If we can improve the squad and over the summer and come back and get to a good start like we did this season, then hopefully we can kick on.
Well, we hope to see you back playing soon. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
Cheers, thank you.
And how Aberdeen would love to have him tonight. OK, up next we'll hear from the Dons boss Derek McInnes. He's still keen on breaking last year's points tally of 75. And we'll also check in with Robbie Nielsen too, the Hearts head coach. Their thoughts are on the way next. Welcome back to the Granite City. Aberdeen host Hearts here tonight. It's their penultimate home game of the season, a chance to sign off in style with back-to-back wins at Pittodrie perhaps, but they're up against the Hearts team who've been victorious in both of their last two meetings. Here's the key team news then. One change for the Dons. Scott McKenna makes his first start, the 19-year-old centre-back. Big night for him. And up top, Kenny McLean will fill that role, false nine if you like. Played in there in the second half at Celtic Park last weekend. As for the Jambos, they've made 3 changes. They've got an eye on the future. Dario Zanata makes his third start, the 18-year-old attacker. High hopes for him. And in goal, Jack Hamilton starts again. He's heading out on loan next season. Might be the long-term #1 though. OK, we'll hear from all of the guys shortly, but now we can get the pre-match thoughts of Derek McInnes. He was really pretty sure his team could last the pace in the title race. A few big slip-ups at big moments though cost him. Here he is with Ailey.
Derek, a little bit of a striker crisis tonight. How close was Simon Church to making it?
Not very. You know, I think we knew when he came off at Celtic Park on Sunday that we took a wee bit of a risk in playing him, and you know, with the Euros in mind, well, he couldn't be fit for tonight anyway for Simon, but it wasn't a risk we were prepared to take tonight. So, you know, we've had to adjust. You know, we've got young Conor McLennan being away with the 17s for Scotland. He flies back in tonight, so at least we have another recognised striker, even though he's only 16. In the building for Sunday. So, but for tonight we'll obviously having to play Kenny McLean at the top end of the pitch, which he did very well second half against Celtic against Celtic on Sunday. So, you know, it's not natural for him, and we lose him elsewhere when we play him there, but it's needs must.
You started the season breaking a record with the 8 wins in a row, and you can end the season breaking a record with a points total. How much emphasis have you put on that over these last 2 games?
Well, it's something to work towards, isn't it? And it's something we've been trying to work towards from day one, so it's achievable. It's for us with 2 games to go. To do it, we need 2 wins. Thankfully, we've got 2 home games, you know, and that gives us a slightly better chance, I think. But tonight, it's a tough game. You know, Hearts have shown that this season, that they've been closely behind us, more or less the whole way. There's not been much between the teams we've played. You know, so we've got a tough game ahead of us, but you expect tough games after the split.
All the best, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks.
Well, he's a man who wanted to get the transfer business done early. He's brought in a striker from Bournemouth, a man who was on loan at Exeter, scored 10 goals. Jayden Stockley, that's deal done. That was announced last night. It's good news because they need competition for Adam Rooney up top, and there's no guarantee they can get Simon Church back, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another option for them. You look at their team tonight, they're not got a recognised striker, so I think if Rooney's in trouble, then they've got another option for next season.
I'm sure they'd love to have Simon Church back though, but they're not quite sure. Yeah. Heading to the Euros, we expect maybe a deal to be done.
Yeah, well, that would be good. 3 strikers of that quality. I think young Stockley, it's probably support for Adam Rooney sometimes as opposed to competition, because Adam's probably carried this club over the last couple of years in the goal scoring fronts. 20 goals this season, 28 last season. Someone else needs to chip in, so I think just adding that continually just strengthens your squad.
One of the things he has talked about though, Stephen, is a lack of strength. We saw that up at McDermott Park when they were turned over quite easily that night. You wonder therefore if he wants to strengthen the midfield, maybe going back in for Greg Tansey, who we mentioned earlier on, but also defensively. Too many costly slip-ups. Is that an area that must improve?
Well, that's an area we have continually spoke about when we've done Aberdeen live games, and as much as I love Shay Logan going forward, his enthusiasm, his determination, sometimes he leaves himself a little bit exposed, and this was another game where they conceded soft goals. They were a little bit easy to play against. Even last weekend against Celtic, just Patrick Roberts picks the ball up in the halfway and he dribbles forward 45 yards, there's no contact, but it's something Derek will look to strengthen all the time. Is probably get a strong back four, because if you want to challenge for the title, Michael, I think you have to be mean at the back.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you see here with Graham Shinnie, this is one of the things that potentially why he hasn't played a lot more at left back, is because he gets drawn into a central area, and Craggs is right. If you're going to be successful, you need to build strong from the back. But in my opinion, you look around world football, there is a dearth of good centre-halves. Everywhere you look, where are the good centre-halves, where are the good defenders? But it's very important, if you are going to be successful, you've got to build from the back.
OK, there's no doubt at all that Hearts and Aberdeen are casting an eye to the future, but do not tell that to Robbie Nielsen, because he was absolutely furious at the way Hearts played last weekend, home draw against Ross County. He wants a win here tonight. The head coach is with Ailey Barber.
Well, Robbie, you've brought back a couple of regulars in the name of Wanman and Jim tonight. Are you targeting this as a big confidence-boosting win at the end of the season?
Yeah, it's an important game for us. It's 2 teams that have had really good seasons, second and third, and it's an opportunity for us to try and win up here. We haven't done it yet this season, so we want to come win. We've got a good travelling support coming, and we need to give them something to cheer.
You've had a pretty tough run of results towards the end of this season. How important is it to turn it around, to build momentum, not just for the end of this season, but into next season?
Yeah, it's really important, to be honest. We had the same issue last year when we won the championship with 7 games to go. We secured third place with 5 games to go, and it's been difficult to get that intensity that we need to try and win these games. And hopefully tonight, in front of a huge crowd, a huge following from Hearts as well, be able to get that intensity to win the game.
You've more than met your top 6 target this season. What challenges have you set the players just for these last 2 games?
Yeah, to try and win as many as we can. If we win tonight, we get the highest points total in the last 10 years, which would be great for the players. It's something we're trying to target. We're sitting at 61. If we can get above 63, then it'd be a great achievement for the players having come up from the championship last year. So that's the aim, but we know it's going to be a really tough game tonight.
All the best, Robbie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Big hopes for the future at the club. They would love to push on and try and get in a title race next season like Aberdeen did this season. He wants to try some players out though. Jack Hamilton's the latest, the goalkeeper, to get his chance. He played last week. It looks like he's going to go out on loan next season, maybe to get him some more experience. They might bring in another goalie, but do you think he is the future, Hamilton?
Well, I think it's too early to say definitively whether he is or not, and that'll be why he's going to send him out on loan, to get a better idea of whether he can step up and be the number 1.
But Scotland under 21 keeper.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a
prospect.
good young player. I've seen him a couple of times, and he looks like a good shot stopper. I'm not convinced that he's great coming for cross balls, but he'll benefit from going out and playing every week if he gets out on loan. So you look through the Hearts team, and for me, down the spine they're going to have to strengthen centre half and centre forward, and a goalkeeper is important for them.
And they mentioned Matt Gilks today. He's the one that's been linked. He's with Burnley. He's out of contract at the end of the season. He's been the backup to Tom Heaton. Would that make sense, because Neil Alexander is 38? He's also the goalkeeping coach. Would that be good competition for him?
Experience. Young Hamilton, they've got high hopes of him, but I think Gilks is experienced, Scottish internationalist, not played a lot of football. But I think Alexander's had a good season this year. I think he's been terrific. Perhaps.
OK, almost set to go here. Chance for both of these teams to lay down a marker ahead of this next season. They played 4 times this year, 2 wins for Aberdeen, 2 wins for Hearts as well, and the last time out it was a real battle. We might just get more of the same here tonight. We'll be back shortly for kick-off. almost set to go here, second against third in the Premiership. It's Aberdeen against Hearts, and you might hear behind me lots of applause. It's for an Aberdeen fan, a very famous fan that died recently, Norman Goldie. He was a great supporter of the club. He was very well known in this era, and he'll be sadly missed. Excellent mark of respect there from all the fans, Hearts fans included, for him tonight. Now, this is a game the last couple of times these teams have met, there's no doubt there's been a bit of niggle between them. Maybe it dates back to the Scottish Cup match as well, when Hearts knocked them out. But is it something we should be watching for tonight, Stephen, again?
Well, I always expect it to be a competitive game. You know, when you've two good sides who are trying to improve, trying to push themselves up the table, it's always going to be competitive. I think the Hearts have probably bullied them a couple of times. You know, probably the last two games have been physically stronger, so that's a big test for Derek McInnes' team. Can they get his players up for the fight, and can they go and compete?
They've got a lot of strength in the midfield, and Perry Kitchen's one that has come in recently, and he seems to have added to that. The Hearts fans seem to like him, Michael.
Yeah, well, he's a real defensive midfielder, and I think he complements Arno Zoom in the middle of the park. He allows him to go and link up with the front players, so they've got a good partnership and a blend in the middle of the park. And you're right, Kitchen has come in and done very well.
Paul, it is slightly experimental tonight, but it's not like there's 5 or 6 youngsters in each team. We expect this still to be really competitive, don't we?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of needle in all the games so far this season, and I think Aberdeen will want to win this one. You know, they've maybe Hearts cost the title for them, so I think it'll be a close encounter again.
They will remember that match a few weeks back at Tynecastle, certainly. OK, here we go. Over to Chris Sutton and Derek Ray.
Thank you very much, Darryl.